Listen carefully, because this is the part most people avoid hearing. Life is not fair, not because you're not trying, but because effort alone doesn't earn respect. You've been loyal and still replaced. You've been kind and still ignored. You've shown up and still treated you like you don't matter. And the worst part, it didn't happen suddenly. It happened quietly, little by little, until one day you realize people don't see you the same way anymore. They talk over you. They dismiss you. They choose others over you, even when you know you deserve better. That's when confusion sets in, because no one teaches you this. No one explains why respect disappears, even when you're doing everything right. So you start blaming yourself. You think maybe you're not enough, not smart enough, not strong enough. But that's not the truth. Or the truth is this: the world doesn't run on fairness, it runs on awareness. And most people are completely blind to it. They believe being good is enough. They believe being honest will protect them. They believe people will treat them the way they treat others. That belief is exactly what makes them easy to overlook, easy to replace, easy to use. Because while they're focused on being liked, someone else is focused on understanding people. Someone else is watching patterns, reading behavior, knowing when to speak and when to stay quiet. And that difference changes everything. You see, intelligence is not about how much you know. It's about how well you see. It's about recognizing what others miss. It's about understanding what people don't say, but reveal through actions. And once you start seeing clearly, you can't unsee it. You begin to notice who respects you and who only tolerates you, who values you, and who only needs you when it's convenient. You start to understand why some people never have to beg for attention and why others keep chasing it without ever getting it. Because real power is not loud. It doesn't argue. It doesn't prove itself. It doesn't chase validation. It operates quietly, but it changes how people treat you instantly. And here's what most people will never realize. There are ways of thinking, ways of acting that shift how others see you without saying a word. Not everyone learns this. Most people go through life reacting, explaining, hoping, while a few move differently. And once you understand how they think, you will never look at people the same way again. Now here's where most people get it wrong. They don't lose respect because they lack value. They lose it because they lack control. Control over emotions, control over words, control over how they respond when pressure hits. Most people feel everything and show everything. The moment something upsets them, it shows. Their tone changes, their energy shifts, their reactions become obvious. And once people can read you that easily, they can predict you. When you're predictable, you're easy to handle, easy to influence, easy to ignore when it benefits them. Think about it. The person who gets angry quickly, you already know how to push them. The one who talks too much reveals more than they should. The one who trusts too fast gives access before it's earned. The one who reacts instantly never gives themselves time to think. And the one who is always trying to be liked ends up being taken for granted. This is how most people live. Not because they're weak, but because no one taught them how to move differently. They believe expressing everything makes them real. They believe saying everything makes them honest. They believe trusting everyone makes them good. But in reality, it makes them exposed, because emotional people follow their feelings, while others study those feelings. One is reacting, the other is observing. One is speaking, the other is listening. One is revealing, the other is learning. And that difference creates a gap most people never notice. A gap between those who are driven by emotion and those who operate with intention. Strategic people don't rush to respond. They pause, they watch, they listen more than they speak. They don't let feelings control their actions. They let awareness guide them. While others are trying to be accepted, they are focused on understanding. While others are explaining themselves, they are deciding what deserves a response. That's why they move differently. That's why they're harder to read, harder to predict, harder to control, Because once you stop reacting to everything, you stop giving people access to your next move. And when people can't predict you, they start to respect you. Strategic people see the world differently. And once you begin to understand how they think, you start to see why most people struggle without ever knowing why. So what is this way of thinking, really? It's not something people openly talk about. There's no classroom for it. No one sits you down and explains it clearly. But once you see it, you recognize it everywhere. It's what I call a different kind of intelligence. Not loud, not obvious, not based on showing off or proving anything. It's a way of thinking built on control, awareness, and intention. Some people call it silent power. Some see it as a strategic mind. Others describe it as having a psychological advantage. But at its core, it's the ability to stay in control of yourself while understanding everyone around you. And let's make something clear right now. This is not about being evil. It's not about harming people. And it's not about playing dirty games. Most people hear ideas like this and immediately misunderstand them. They think it's about manipulation. It's not. It's about awareness. It's about seeing what's really happening instead of what you want to believe is happening. It's about understanding behavior, patterns, intentions, and most importantly, it's about mastering yourself. Because the truth is, if you can't control your emotions, someone else will. If you can't control your reactions, someone else will trigger them. If you can't read people, you will always be one step behind them. This kind of intelligence starts with discipline, not the kind people talk about when it comes to work or success, but emotional discipline, the ability to feel everything and still choose how you respond, to be aware of anger without acting on it, to recognize disrespect without losing control, to see intentions without immediately confronting them. That's where real strength begins. And from there, something changes. You stop moving randomly. You stop reacting to every situation. You stop giving people easy access to your thoughts and emotions. Instead, you start choosing when to speak, choosing when to stay quiet, choosing what deserves your energy and what doesn't. You begin to understand people on a deeper level, not just what they say, but what they mean, not just how they act, but why they act that way. And once you understand that, you gain something most people never develop, the ability to influence outcomes without forcing them, the ability to protect your space without constant conflict, the ability to move through situations with clarity instead of confusion. This is what most people are missing. They move through life reacting to events, while a few quietly position themselves before anything even happens. They don't wait to be affected. They prepare, they observe, they decide. And that shift from reacting to choosing is what separates those who struggle from those who stay in control. And this is where everything begins to change, not outside, but within you. Because the difference is not luck. It's not background. It's not even intelligence in the way most people think. It's behavior. The small, quiet choices you make every single day, especially when no one is watching. Most people move without awareness. They speak just to fill silence. They react the moment something happens. They chase attention without realizing it weakens their position. They try so hard to be accepted that they forget to be valued. They explain themselves to everyone. They reveal everything they feel. They let emotions decide what they do next. And without knowing it, they give people a complete map of who they are. Easy to read, easy to predict, easy to control. But those who move differently, they don't rush to speak. They watch first. They don't jump into reactions. They take a moment and think. They don't chase attention. They decide when to step forward and when to stay back. They don't beg to be liked. They focus on how they are perceived and what they stand for. They don't let feelings lead. They choose actions with intention. They don't feel the need to explain everything. They understand that not every situation deserves access to their thoughts. They don't show every emotion. They hold it, shape it, and release only what serves them. This is the shift. It's quiet, but it changes everything. Because the moment you stop giving everything away, people start paying more attention. The moment you stop reacting to everything, people start thinking twice before approaching you. The moment you stop trying to be liked, you start becoming someone people respect. And respect changes how people treat you. It changes how they speak to you, how they approach you, how they think about you, even when you're not there. This is not about becoming cold. It's about becoming aware. Aware of when to speak and when silence is stronger. Aware of when to respond and when to step back. Aware of what to show and what to keep. Because once you understand this, you stop trying to control people. You stop trying to force outcomes. You stop trying to prove yourself, and you start doing something far more powerful. You change how you behave. You don't become powerful by changing people. You become powerful by changing how you behave. And when that shift happens, people don't need to be told who you are. They feel it. What you're hearing is not new. It's been understood for centuries by people who studied power, human behavior, and the patterns behind how the world really works. Long before modern conversations about mindset, thinkers were already observing something most people still ignore today. In The Prince, Niccolo Machiavelli didn't describe the world as it should be. He described it as it is. He showed that people are not always loyal, not always fair, not always guided by what is right. They respond to perception, to positioning, to how you carry yourself under pressure. And if you don't understand that, you will always be reacting to a game you don't even realize is being played. Even earlier, in The Art of War, Sun Tzu spoke about awareness, patience, and timing, not rushing into action, not revealing intention too early, not fighting every battle, but choosing the ones that matter. Because real strength was never about noise. It was about control, over actions, over timing, over self. And this idea carries into Stoicism, a philosophy built on one principle most people struggle with. You cannot control what people do, but you can control how you respond. And that response defines your position. Modern psychology only confirms what these thinkers already understood. Human beings are emotional, driven by impulses, influenced by perception. We judge quickly. We respond to behavior more than words. We respect what we don't fully understand, and often overlook what is too available. This is where social intelligence becomes powerful. It's not about being the loudest in the room. It's about reading the room without speaking. It's not about forcing attention. It's about knowing how attention moves and positioning yourself within it. Because once you understand human nature, you stop expecting people to act differently, and you start moving differently yourself. That's the shift these ideas were always pointing to. Not motivation, awareness, not noise, control. And once you begin to see people through that lens, you start to understand something most never realize. Power has always been there, hidden in behavior, hidden in choices, hidden in the way you carry yourself, even in silence. Now that you understand the foundation, here's what this is really about. Today, you're going to learn the psychological traits that separate those who are easily ignored from those who are quietly respected. You'll begin to see what makes a person calm under pressure, what makes them difficult to read, and why they are almost impossible to influence or take advantage of. You'll understand how certain behaviors shift how people treat you without you saying much, without forcing anything. More importantly, you'll start to recognize the patterns people reveal every day, the signals most overlook, the small details that expose intention, respect, and true character. By the end of this, you won't just hear these ideas, you'll start noticing them in conversations, in reactions, in silence. And once you see it clearly, you'll understand why some people are always one step ahead and why they are never easy to underestimate. Before we go deeper, pause for a second. Be honest with yourself. Do you want attention or do you want respect? Because those two paths lead in completely different directions. One makes you visible for a moment, the other changes how people treat you long term. Now think about this. When was the last time you reacted too quickly, said more than you should have, or trusted someone before they earned it? You don't have to answer out loud. but you know the moment. That's where everything starts. So here's what I want you to do. Make a decision. Not later, now. Decide the kind of person you're becoming. The one who reacts, or the one who observes. The one who seeks approval, or the one who commands respect without asking. If you're serious about this shift, drop one word in your mind right now. Control. And hold on to it, because everything you're about to learn only works if you're willing to apply it. Now we step into what most people never get taught. Not the rules you hear every day, but patterns you start to recognize once you see clearly. These are the behaviors that separate those who are constantly reacting from those who quietly stay in control. Trait 1, calculated silence. Most people think silence means weakness. They assume if you're not speaking, you have nothing to say. But the opposite is often true. People talk too much when they feel pressure. They explain, defend, overshare, trying to prove something, and in doing that, they reveal everything. In a meeting, the one who speaks first often loses leverage. In an argument, the one who talks more exposes emotion. On social media, the one who responds to everything becomes predictable, but the person who stays quiet listens, observe, let others reveal themselves first. Most psychologically, silence creates tension, and people rush to fill that tension, often saying more than they planned. That gives you information without effort. The lesson is simple. Not every moment needs your voice. Sometimes silence does more than words ever could. Power speaks less and sees more. Trait 2, emotional control. Most people don't notice how quickly they lose control. One comment and their mood changes. One situation and their energy shifts. They react instantly, without thinking. At work, a small criticism ruins their day. In relationships, a misunderstanding turns into conflict. Online, a single message triggers a long response. And once emotions take over, clarity disappears. But those who move differently feel everything, but show very little. They don't ignore emotion. They manage it. And because once others can control how you feel, they can control how you act. Psychology shows that people respect stability. They trust those who don't break under pressure. The lesson: if you control your emotions, no one else can control your decisions. Calm is not a weakness, it's control. Trait 3, observation before reaction. Most people react first and think later. Something happens and they jump in. They respond too quickly, they assume too fast. They act without full understanding. But those who are aware pause, they watch how people behave. They notice tone, timing, patterns. At work, they don't rush to respond to emails or criticism. They read between the lines first. In friendships, they notice consistency, not just words. In conversations, they pay attention to what is not being said. Psychologically, an observation gives you context, and context gives you better decisions. The lesson: if you slow down your reactions, you speed up your understanding. Those who observe move smarter. Trait 4, controlled kindness. Most people are kind without limits. They give too much. They say yes too often. They make themselves available to everyone. And over time, that kindness gets taken for granted. In friendships, they're only called when needed. At work, they're given more tasks without recognition. In relationships, their effort becomes expected, not appreciated. But those who understand balance are kind with boundaries. They choose when to give. They decide who deserves access. Because when kindness has no structure, it loses value. Psychology shows that people respect what is limited. The lesson: be kind, but not available to everyone. Honor value increases when access is controlled. Trait 5, strategic disappearance. Most people think they always need to be present, always replying, always showing up, always explaining where they've been. But constant presence reduces impact. When people see you all the time, they stop noticing you. But when you step back, something changes. People start wondering, they start paying attention again. In social spaces, absence creates curiosity. In relationships, distance creates awareness. In work, stepping back can shift how you're perceived. Psychologically, absence creates value through scarcity. The lesson: you don't need to be everywhere to be respected. Sometimes stepping back moves you forward. Trait 6. Reputation management. Most people focus on what they say about themselves, but reputation is built on what others experience. It's not your word. It's your consistency. At work, it's how you handle pressure. With friends, it's how you show up over time. Online, it's how you carry yourself repeatedly. People remember patterns, not promises, and once a pattern is formed, it becomes your identity in their mind. Psychology shows that perception shapes treatment. The lesson: your behavior builds your reputation. Whether you notice or not, you are remembered by patterns, not statements. Trait 7. Indirect influence. Most people try to control situations directly. They argue, they push, they try to convince, and often it creates resistance. But those who understand influence don't force outcomes. They position themselves, they guide conversations, they allow others to arrive at conclusions on their own. In discussions, they ask the right questions. Then in work, they influence decisions without pressure. In relationships, they create space instead of force. Psychologically, people resist control, but accept ideas they believe are theirs. The lesson: you don't need to force anything when you understand how to guide it. True influence is felt, not forced. Trait 8. Outcome thinking. Most people focus on the moment, how they feel, what they want right now, what satisfies them immediately. But those who think ahead ask a different question: what does this lead to? Before they speak, before they act, before they react, they consider the result. In arguments, they choose peace over ego. In decision, they think long-term over short-term satisfaction. Psychologically, this creates control over consequences. The lesson: think beyond the moment, and you control the outcome. Short-term emotion or long-term advantage. Choose. Trait 9. Never show all your plans. Most people share too early. They talk about what they're about to do before they even do it, and in doing so, they lose focus. They invite opinions. They expose intentions. But those who move quietly keep plans to themselves. They act first. They reveal results later. Because once people know your next move, they can interfere or prepare against it. Psychologically, uncertainty protects your direction. The lesson: not everything needs to be announced. Move in silence. Let results speak. Trait 10. Let people underestimate you. Most people want to be seen as capable immediately. They try to prove themselves fast. They want recognition early, but that often creates pressure and expectations. And are those who understand positioning don't rush to show everything. They allow people to misjudge them. At work, they exceed expectations quietly. In social spaces, they reveal strength over time, because being underestimated removes pressure and creates advantage. Psychologically, people lower their guard when they think you're not a threat. The lesson: you don't always need to prove your value instantly. Being overlooked can be your greatest advantage. Now this is where it becomes deeper, because everything you've heard so far, most people will understand on the surface, but very few will apply it when it actually matters. When pressure rises, when emotions are high, when ego wants to take over, that's where the real difference shows. The most powerful person in any room is rarely the loudest. They're not the one trying to dominate conversations. They're not the one trying to prove a point every second. They're the one who understands what's happening without needing to announce it. Because power does not need noise to exist. And the most dangerous person? It's not the one who reacts fast. It's the one who stays calm when everyone else is losing control. Because calm creates clarity, and clarity allows you to see what others miss. When you stay quiet in certain moments, people start revealing themselves. They talk more, they expose intentions, They show how they think without realizing it. You begin to notice patterns. Who gets defensive quickly? Who tries to dominate? Who seeks approval? Who loses control under pressure? And once you see those patterns, you understand something most people ignore. Emotional people are easy to influence, not because they're weak, but because their reactions can be predicted. If someone knows what triggers you, they can guide your response. And once your response is guided, your decisions are no longer yours. That's why those who understand this don't try to control situations directly. They don't waste energy trying to force outcomes. They focus on something far more important, their reactions. Because once you control how you respond, you indirectly control how situations unfold. You don't need to win every argument. In fact, trying to win every argument often makes you lose position. It makes you look reactive. It makes you look emotional. It makes you easy to read. Instead, you focus on outcomes. Why you ask yourself, what actually matters here? Is it proving a point or maintaining your position? Is it being right in the moment or being respected over time? Because those two things are not the same. Respect is not built from talking more. It's not built from reacting quickly. It's not built from forcing people to agree with you. It's built from consistency, from emotional control, and from the parts of you people cannot fully figure out. When people cannot fully predict you, they become more careful around you. When you don't react the way they expect, they start thinking twice. When your behavior stays steady, regardless of pressure, they begin to respect you without you asking for it. This is the shift from reacting to observing, from proving to positioning, from chasing moments to shaping outcomes. And once you reach this level, you stop trying to control everything around you because you realize something far more powerful. Control starts with you. And once that is in place, everything else begins to fall into position. Now let's make one thing clear, because this is where people misunderstand everything. This is not about hurting people. It's not about taking advantage of anyone. And it's not about turning yourself into someone cold or disconnected. That's not power. That's imbalance. What this is really about is control over yourself. It's about awareness. Awareness of how people behave. Awareness of how emotions influence decisions. Awareness of when to speak and when silence serves you better. Because once you understand human nature, you stop taking everything personally. You stop expecting everyone to think like you. How do you stop reacting to every little thing? You stop giving energy to situations that don't deserve it. And that changes your entire experience. This is about protecting your peace, not by avoiding life, but by choosing how you engage with it, choosing when to respond, choosing what deserves your attention, choosing who earns your trust. Because not every situation needs your reaction. Not every person needs access to you. Not every moment deserves your energy. And when you understand that, you don't become distant. You become intentional. You become someone who can be kind without being used, present without being controlled, calm without being passive. This is not manipulation. It's clarity. Clarity about yourself and clarity about the people around you. Because once you see things for what they are, you don't need to force anything. You simply choose better. And that choice is where real control begins. So now, everything comes back to one question, not about people, not about situations, about you. Which kind of person do you want to become? The one who reacts, or the one who observes? The one who speaks without thinking, or the one who listens and understands first? The one who seeks attention, or the one who earns respect without asking? The one who lets emotions decide, or the one who chooses actions with intention? Because both paths are real. One feels easy in the moment, but costs you in the long run. The other requires awareness, but changes how people see you and how you see yourself. And the truth is, no one makes that decision for you. Not your environment, not your past, not other people. It's made in quiet moments. When you choose how to respond, when you choose what to say or not say, when you choose what deserves your energy. So take a second and be honest. Which version of yourself are you building right now? And this is the shift from reacting to understanding, from being driven by feelings to choosing your actions, from being easy to read to becoming someone people can't easily figure out. You move away from being emotional in every moment, away from being predictable, away from being influenced by everything around you, and you step into something different. Calm, even when things get intense. Observant, even when others are distracted. Strategic, even when situations try to rush you. You stop seeking approval and start earning respect. You stop giving away control and start holding it within yourself. Because in the end, it was never about changing people. It was about changing how you show up. And once that changes, everything else follows. Now, before you leave, take a moment and commit to the shift. Drop one word that defines the person you are becoming: calm, aware, or control. Make it real. If this made you see things differently, leave a like so more people can understand this too. Subscribe if you're serious about mastering how you think, act, and move. And don't stop here. Watch the next video, because this is just the beginning. But most importantly, after this ends, don't just move on. Pay attention to yourself, how you react, how you speak, what you allow. Because the real change doesn't happen in watching, it happens in how you behave after.